In our dreams, there is a land. A land that takes us back to the origins of the earth. A young land in terms of human discovery and settlement. This is a land of ongoing change, as nature wields in one hand a sword, and in the other an artist's brush. It is a vast land, spreading out in a luxurious sweep of rainforest, tundra, and ice. The land beckons dreamers and the adventuresome. Its immensity overflows with wildness and with silence. In our dreams, we have always known that there would be such a place, and someday we would see it. This is the place. It is called Alaska. Comprising a landmass 1/5 the size of the lower 48 states, Alaska is often appreciated for its sheer size. For example, if placed atop the United States, Alaska would stretch from New York City to Los Angeles. Alaska is so large that Alaskans find it helpful to think of their state as a collection of 6 unique regions. Each region has its own geography, wildlife, and lifestyles. The Arctic, the Northwest, the Interior, the Southwest, the South Central, and the emerald jewel in Alaska's crown, the Southeast. Southeast is where many visitors get their first glimpse of Alaska on a cruise through the Inside Passage. Here, mountains give the impression of having recently risen from roots deep in the sea. They give birth to waterfalls that descend thousands of feet to sea level. Nearby, veils of mist enshroud scores of tiny islands. Porpoises seem to lead the way as ships maneuver carefully through the narrow but well-charted passage, providing an inspiring and quiet ride over silver waters. Lush, rain-fed forests slide by, home to the raven, eagle, and other creatures of native legend. This is indeed a land of mystery. The first stop on the northward journey is Ketchikan, a distinction that has caused it to be called Alaska's first city. This small town lives under a blanket of misty rain for most of the year. Built at the foot of towering mountains, much of Ketchikan, by necessity, hangs over the water on pilings. A stroll along the harbor reveals an important source of the Southeast Alaskans' livelihood: fishing. Commercial salmon fishing is serious competitive business to more than 7,000 boats in the Southeast fleet. Many of the communities of Southeast have fish processing plants. This one in Ketchikan processes salmon, canning the delicate meat for the world market. Commercial fishermen aren't the only fishermen in Southeast Alaska. Clear streams teeming with spawning salmon attract well-equipped anglers. There is also the four-legged fisherman. These bears have recently come out of their winter hibernation. They've lost weight and are very hungry. Some patiently wait for the biggest fish to swim by. Others simply chase down anything that swims, which can be more than a mouthful. The wet, mild climate of Southeast Alaska gives rise to thick forests, providing the raw material for the region's timber industry. The harvest of old-growth timber plays a vital role in the economy of the region, and along with the fish, is an important export to Asian nations. Before the lumberjack, another race of men and women felled the giant Sitka spruce and the aromatic cedars of the rainforest. These totem poles, created by the Tlingit and Haida Indians, are famous around the world for their fine carving and the powerful images of animals and spirits ascending into the sky. Since the Indians had no written language, the totem tells the stories and legends of these ancient races. There's probably no more historic town in Alaska than Sitka. Alaska's oldest non-native settlement, Sitka was once the capital of Russian America. More than 200 years ago, Russian fur traders settled here, making it, at the time, the largest city on North America's west coast. Today, a Russian cannon still stands on the site of the original Castle Hill Fortress, overlooking Sitka Sound. The centerpiece of the town is St. Michael's Cathedral, built by the Russians in 1848. Although it burned in 1966, the townspeople saved nearly all its priceless icons and paintings and rebuilt the structure in exact detail from original drawings. This pride in Sitka's Russian heritage is celebrated each summer by the New Archangel Russian dancers. The state capital of Alaska is located at Juneau, a city of pleasing contrasts. Juneau is a major stop on ferry and cruise ship schedules, and with good reason. In this city of 25,000, residents live with towering mountains at their backs and the waters of Gastineau Channel at their feet. The colonial-style governor's mansion looks like it was flown in yesterday from New England. Juneau residents have taken advantage of every inch of real estate. Some find their exercise every day, just walking home. A short distance from the city center is Mendenhall Glacier, a popular attraction for thousands of visitors every year. In true drive-in style, a view of the 12-mile-long glacier can be enjoyed without ever leaving your car. However, an airborne sightseeing trip brings breathtaking close-up views of crevasses and blue glacial ice. The Great Juneau Ice Field covers more than 1,000 square miles and has produced more than 30 glaciers. At the top of the Alaska Panhandle, near the Canadian border, is the unique town of Skagway. Once the gateway to the Klondike goldfields, Skagway is steeped in rough and tumble history. This is the North's own version of the Old West, a town that once was home to the kind of gold-crazed men writer Jack London made famous, or infamous. Through music and stage plays, visitors step back in time and visit Skagway's Soapy Smith, who, until he met an untimely end, was more than willing to empty the pockets of many an aspiring miner. From its boardwalks, to its false-fronted buildings, to its unusual transportation options, Skagway may be Alaska's most unusual community. No trip to Southeast Alaska would be complete without a visit to Glacier Bay National Monument. Millions of tons of ice flow for miles over land to end here in the sea. As the glaciers continue their decay, sometimes at a rate of hundreds of feet a year, huge sections of glacial cliff break away, crashing into the water below. Seals find these icebergs convenient resting places. In retreat since the last ice age, the glaciers have left a bay rich in marine life. Glacier Bay is renowned for its concentration of humpback whales and whale watchers. Because the waters of Glacier Bay are rich in the tiny shrimp-like animals that are a favorite of the humpback, many of them come here to feed from June to August. The South Central region is the most settled area of Alaska. 2/3 of all Alaskans find the temperate climate of South Central, its readily available recreational opportunities, and ever-present wildlife just the sort of attractions to make them want to call this home. In Anchorage, nearly 250,000 people devote themselves to commerce and industry beneath the steady gaze of the Chugach Mountains. In 1915, Anchorage was a tent city whose purpose was to get the Alaska Railroad built. But the pioneers found the wide bowl nestled between mountains and Cook Inlet an ideal place to settle down. As an air crossroads for planes flying to Europe, the Pacific, the Orient, and almost everywhere else, Anchorage is eager to share with the visitor her scenery and expertise in comfortable northern living. "30 miles north of Anchorage is Alaska's primary agricultural region, the Matanuska Valley. Picturesque farms grow green beneath the mountains. Rich soil and nearly round-the-clock sunlight during the summer combine to produce vegetables of remarkable size. In August, Alaskans celebrate the harvest with a state fair. An excellent opportunity to get close to a 60-pound cabbage and a 200-pound pig. "60 miles south of Anchorage is the most visited attraction in Alaska, Portage Glacier. The glacier's steady calving produces icebergs that float up to the visitor center on the edge of Portage Lake. A walk onto the glacier itself may produce a sighting of the elusive ice worm. Hunting ice worms doesn't require a license, just a toothpick and a taste for the unusual.
I'll give you all a vial here and a toothpick, and the vial has alcohol in it to preserve them. Generally, I pick them up with toothpicks because if I don't, I smush them. So I'll just give you all these. They don't really believe us, and I think this is kind of a snipe hunt, and it's a lot to make them come out here and hike this mile to get here to look for them, but they come here to just to see if they really do exist.
A favorite recreation and sightseeing area for the residents of South Central Alaska is the 200-mile-long Kenai Peninsula. Besides tall mountains and carpets of forests, the peninsula lakes and rivers are a magnet for the fishermen and boaters who come here every year. During spring and summer, the small communities of the peninsula swell to many times their normal size as fishermen and boaters descend on rivers, bays, and streams. The most famous of the peninsula rivers is the Kenai. This glacier-fed river yields some of the largest salmon in the world, the Kenai King. The enthusiasm of an angler who has battled a king to the boat is difficult to restrain, and sometimes an armload of a king is more difficult to handle out of the water than in it. The record king taken in the river weighed just under 100 pounds. At the tip of the Kenai Peninsula is gorgeous Kachemak Bay and the city of Homer. Fireweed grows thick on hillsides overlooking the bay, providing a view of the 5-mile-long Homer Spit. This unusual landform provides the base for a large fishing fleet and recreational boating. The bay is a rich source of seafood. Of particular interest to sports fishermen are halibut, a successful charter in search of these large bottom fish can bring many smiles and literally a ton of fish. To the southwest lie some of the most mysterious and seldom visited areas of Alaska that have been home to Aleut Indians for perhaps 30,000 years. The Pribilof Islands are also home to a large number of fur seals who live in these marine-rich waters. The Pribilofs are a favorite of bird watchers. The jagged cliffsides form rookeries for many species of birds, including murres and the colorful horned puffin. South of the Pribilofs, at the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, is the Aleutian Chain, a series of windswept volcanic islands extending 1,000 miles into the Pacific Ocean toward Asia. The islands are virtually treeless, the vegetation consisting mainly of grass and exotic flowers. Vast mountains, long winding rivers, and great expanses of tundra make up the interior of Alaska. The interior is a land of contrasts. In the summer, long daylight hours send the mercury into the 90s. In the winter, though, temperatures routinely plunge into the 30 or 40 below zero range. The wide open spaces and the rich resources of the interior have long attracted fortune seekers. Around the turn of the century, names like Fairbanks, the Yukon, Circle City became household words. This part of Alaska saw a new gold stampede that occurred at about the time of the strikes in the Klondike to the south. Today, the only evidence of the old-timers is the rusting hulks of discarded dredges. But new discoveries of gold, coal, and copper are reinvigorating hard rock mining in this area. At the center of the economic activity in the interior is Fairbanks. Fairbanks has seen many booms and busts. Most recently, the city boomed with the discovery of oil on Alaska's North Slope and the construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. The 750-mile pipeline spans the state from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez. The long silver line passes over some of the most scenic and challenging terrain in the world. Engineered to withstand earthquake, and much of it built above ground to avoid melting, then sinking in the permafrost soil, the pipeline was built at a cost of $9 billion. The oil it transports has contributed greatly to the development of Fairbanks and all of Alaska. The state's oldest university campus, the University of Alaska, is located just outside Fairbanks. The university's program emphasis on high-latitude problems has earned it worldwide notice. University research into the nature of the aurora borealis, or northern lights, has yielded the world's finest visuals of this phenomenon. These pictures were taken using one of the world's most sensitive video cameras. The resulting image is as close as man has come to capturing the elusive beauty of the aurora on a winter's night. The Alaska Railroad provides a vital link between the interior and coastal Alaska. The most popular destination for the train lies almost midway between Fairbanks and Anchorage, Denali National Park. In Denali Park, visitors find 6 million acres of wilderness devoted to an array of wildlife. The park is presided over by North America's tallest mountain, magnificent Mount McKinley. Within the park, buses offer a chance to take an Alaskan-style safari along a winding 80-mile dirt road. A privileged view is obtained of some of Alaska's most famous species. In Denali, the animals have priority. Unafraid of man, they frequently stop on or near the road, giving bus passengers an opportunity for a picture-perfect scene. Alaska's big four game animals are abundant and easily seen within Denali. The lumbering grizzly, often accompanied by cubs. Dall sheep with their impressive display of sure-footedness. The Arctic's greatest nomad, the caribou, and the moose. Alaskans on the go frequently take to the air. This is especially true of those making trips to and from the sparsely settled areas of the state known as the bush. Today, many formerly isolated villages and cities are connected with jet service. To go beyond them, travelers board bush planes. In the small villages of Alaska, one finds the traditional people of Alaska, Indian, Aleut, and Eskimo, people who through thousands of years have maintained a close and respectful relationship with the land. Season to season, the rhythm of life in the interior is much the same. On the Yukon River and its many tributaries, the arrival of salmon brings about an annual ritual. When the salmon come up the river to spawn, native Alaskans gather at traditional fish camps to catch and prepare a winter supply of food, and some to sell for cash. The salmon used for personal consumption is dried on outdoor racks. The salmon that will be sold are cut into strips and draped over racks in a smokehouse and carefully smoked with native alder. The pace of life in Alaska slows as summer gives way to winter. By February, the midway point in winter, Alaskans break the monotony with a variety of festivals. Dog mushers from around the state and the nation gather in Anchorage for an annual fur rendezvous. A 10-day carnival of traditional northern winter fun. While the men and women's World Championship sled dog race winners are being decided, 140 other events are ongoing, all designed to chase cabin fever and the midwinter blues. A few weeks following Fur Rendezvous, mushers again meet in Anchorage for the start of the world-famous Iditarod sled dog race. More than a score of the world's best mushers test themselves and their dogs against one another during this race to historic Nome, more than 1,000 miles away. The best mushers will spend nearly 2 weeks on the trail with little sleep in a test of endurance that is unequaled in any other sporting event. In western Alaska, 500 miles west of Anchorage, lies the Bering Sea. The inhabitants of the western coast of Alaska have an important relationship with this great and strategic body of water. The sea is, and always has been, central to the lives of Eskimos. One of the most important marine mammals to the western Eskimo is the walrus. The walrus is most at home in the water, where despite weighing up to 3,000 pounds, they move with the grace of a dancer. These wrinkled creatures congregate on island rookeries and ice floes offshore. Though comical to watch, the walrus has practical value to natives who use the tough, thick hide for fashioning skin boats. The meat and blubber is used for food. The ivory is raw material for beautifully carved and polished artifacts. The northwest of Alaska is a land of mountains and rolling hills of Arctic tundra. For the coastal towns and villages, life depends upon what can be wrested from land and sea. Surprisingly, Alaska's most successful agricultural enterprise is found in this stark landscape: reindeer herding. And that means an annual Western-style roundup and antler harvest. The Arctic, land of long, dark winters, and in summer, days that are indistinguishable from night. For most of the year, a blanket of snow, the sound of wind howling across the ice. Then a short summer. Winter pulls back its icy fingers. The ice pack fractures. The tundra becomes dotted with thousands of tiny lakes. The sun returns from below the horizon and bathes the Arctic slope in a golden and orange light around the clock. We're in the land of the midnight sun. This is the home of the Inupiat Eskimo, the great whale hunters. During the Arctic spring, when the sun ceases to set, bowhead whales pass through narrow leads of ice near the shore. whaling captain and his crew wait, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, until a whale is sighted. A skin boat is launched and the chase begins. Capturing a bowhead whale is no small feat. Often the hunt is unsuccessful. When the hunters return with a whale, though, the entire village turns out to help bring the whale ashore. The bowhead is important to the Inupiat, not only for food, but as a centerpiece of their culture. The successful whaling captain is honored in his village. He divides his catch among members of his community in time-honored tradition. The celebration includes a blanket toss, beating of the walrus skin drums, and traditional dances and singing. The Eskimos are no longer the only ones to take on the challenge of survival in the Arctic. In 1968, oil companies discovered North America's largest oil field at Prudhoe Bay. Here on the North Slope, man perches near the top of the world, his largest structures dwarfed by the horizonless landscape. Less than 20 years ago, this area was tundra and ice. Today, the vast apparatus of the oil industry stands linked to a 750-mile-long pipeline carrying 20% of the nation's oil supply. In the last 50 years, more change has come to Alaska than in all the centuries before. The rise of cities, the development of state government, the inexorable pulling of native cultures into non-traditional ways of living, the creation of an extensive communication and transportation network where nothing of the kind existed before. There has also been the sudden impact of the newfound wealth of oil, the increase of tourism, and development of new export markets to the nations of the Pacific Rim. Though the changes are significant and irreversible, the land and its mysteries remain. Alaska. It remains a raw land, still in the process of self-discovery. Alaskans, as much as anyone, appreciate the treasures in their own backyard. They, and indeed all Americans, are committed to maintaining one of the last great wildernesses left on Earth. More than any other of the 50 states, Alaska lands have been dedicated to parks and wildlife preserves so that all people can continue to enjoy the natural wonder that is uniquely Alaska.